We're switching things up today. I have a special helper, and what are we making?
Stuffed pickled peppers.
It's one of our family traditions, a sweet little bell pepper that's miniature, stuffed with cabbage, pickled. It's delicious, and you're gonna wanna make it. Let's go. So this is a long process when we do this, and Mom and I always say we have to do this together because these are a novelty. They're not something you're gonna just whip out, you know, numerous pints or quarts of, I wouldn't even think of putting these in quarts, a year. You're gonna do a small amount. And even though Mom's mom, Grandma did, what year did she did 36 pint, we think, one year, right?
Yeah.
That was her record. And the reason we say that, kind of like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but these took her at least 1 hour per pint. And it was a long process of stuffing peppers. And to do this, what we do is we grow these peppers every year and we save seed. So this is seed already that I'm saving. And I wanna take you through this whole process. And so that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna go from start to finish on how we can these stuffed pickled peppers. Very unique thing. So you've met my mom before. This is my mom, Jody. She lives across the road. She taught me most of what I know. And we still can together when we can. When we can together. So Mom, what are you doing and what are you kind of starting with, just so we can explain this?
I'm cleaning out peppers. You take the tops off. Here was the top. You cut it off neatly. You get a little hole, and now you dig out the seeds.
So the way to do the top, there's a couple ways. And you know, these peppers, like I said, we save the seed every year. You can find numerous miniature bell peppers. That's pretty much what these are.
Yeah.
They're a sweet pepper. They're not spicy.
At the time when we started, you couldn't.
You couldn't. It was harder back in the old days when it was hard to find seeds. No, but with online now, you can find. That makes
They're
me
just
sound
called
really old to say
miniature. I
online
think
now.
they're. I don't know. Yeah.
Miniature bell peppers, miniature sweet peppers. But
you can find them now.
How I do it, and this is how my grandma did it, and she was super picky. I take the tip of a knife and I go in underneath that cap and I start making a little hole and I start just working around the cap to do that. And then as I do this, you're gonna see that I'm able to slowly get this green cap off. And I wanna do it nicely because if you just rip the cap, you may make a huge hole in it and you don't wanna do that, which I know sounds, but see how I can now just poke that up. And then you can take the tip of a sharp knife and just kind of start working around. Now, again, I know I'm gonna get lots of comments of people being like, oh my goodness, this is a lot of work. And Mom, what do you and I tell each other every year?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And we too, we know it can be tedious and it can be long. We do a few jars.
But why did we start this?
Because Grandma did it.
But even before that.
My other grandma did it.
No.
Oh, she did though.
We got this from... It was...
Right. Great grandma. On the opposite side, which is, this is gonna be a confusing family history. My dad's grandma is who either invented these or is who started doing this.
Had the seed.
I don't think as many people in her family wanted to do, did the work because it was so tedious. And for some reason, my mom's mom found out about them and thought they sounded so good. And her and Mom started doing them.
I got some seed and raised the peppers
and now we still do it. So I would be the fourth generation, even crossing family lines though, to do this. But you can use different tools. I'm using here a little skewer, a wooden skewer, and then I go in and just start circling this around and you can just start getting the insides out. And you guys, yeah, you know, I think this is what's fun is canning can tell the family story and the family history. And that's what we're kind of doing here. Mm-hmm. This is something we've had done in our family. It's something that, no, not a lot of people probably do.
And we loved them, and we still do.
We do love them. They're really good. We don't just eat them willy-nilly. We eat them.
Put them on a relish plate.
Put them on a relish plate.
Which is old-fashioned.
Is it?
Well, kind of. People don't. They put relishes in a bowl.
Am I old?
No.
Oh, I like a relish plate still.
I just mean how we,
Out here on the prairie, when we sometimes make relish plates in our covered wagons, we, joking. These are just kind of a fun thing, you know, on a charcuterie board, on a snack plate. They're a novelty, but they're surprisingly delicious. So what we're gonna do is continue to core some of these out, switch out the seeds.
And they're washed already.
They are washed already. And then you can also wash them after to get the rest of the seeds out. So we're gonna continue doing this and then we'll start stuffing them. So what we do now is once we have them cleaned, we do rinse them out after this just to get all the extra seeds out. And then you have an empty cavity. And Mom is doing this. She has kind of longer fingernails, so it works well. But we have shredded cabbage and I call this a kraut cutter. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, but Mom always used it when she made...
Just slaw.
It's a little bit
Yeah.
cabbage, scalloped potatoes.
Oh, this is like a mandolin, just a little bit
Or
more
she was
berry.
making hash browns.
So we just take our cabbage. This is actually still garden cabbage too. And I just take it and I shred it up on here, which you I think can still get these. I hope you can. If not, a lot of you are gonna wonder where to get that.
They've started making them, but it's around here in Amish areas.
Okay. So
I don't know.
guys, check your areas and who knows where you'll find it. But once we get them stuffed, this is where it could get tedious, and we're gonna tell you a little bit more about my grandma, who was an amazing perfectionist and would do any small skill. So if you come in here, you're gonna see what Mom did here. She stuffed it in, and then she found a big piece of cabbage, and she kind of put it over the top because this one had a big opening.
That's because Caleb told me I had to, so cabbage wouldn't come out. He's the perfectionist.
This is where Grandma taught me how to do this. If you don't cover them up on top, you'll get floaties in your jar of little pieces of cabbage.
We don't want floaties.
Do you want floaties?
Don't think it would bother me as much as it would you.
Grandma would have said no floaties, so I do what Grandma. You don't argue with Grandma. So I like to make sure it's covered up so we don't get floaties, and then take just a clean cloth.
Like right here, see? Big piece?
Yeah, see that big piece? And she's gonna put that, now you're doing it, so obviously.
I don't want you.
No, here again, you can use a skewer if you want and just kind of tap it in.
And that's how it looks.
I feel like we're gonna get so many people out there, they're gonna say, I am never doing this. But now you can just watch this and laugh. So then we just brush off the sides too to make sure we don't get floaties. So while Mom continues to stuff those, I'm gonna quick put the brine together. This is a very simple brine. It's pretty much like our red beet pickled brine, except we use it on this. So I'm doing water, and then I'm doing vinegar. And it's just, whenever you can or use it in the kitchen, it's always 5% acidity, which is honestly what almost you would always buy, but make sure it's 5. We do a little bit of canning salt. And the reason I do canning salt, there's no additives in canning salt. It measures differently because it's very small granulars. But the no additives means it will keep your canning liquid clear. Same as if you're gonna ferment something. It's a more clean way and make sure it doesn't get cloudy. So that's why I do use canning salt. And then some sugar. Now, the sugar, Mom and I sometimes argue with. I don't personally think it needs necessarily sugar, but it does temper it out. So if you don't like a strong acidity, we add the sugar because it gives it a slight sweetness. So then we just whisk this, we take it over and we bring this to a simmer until it's completely dissolved. So once they're all filled, they're stuffed, they're ready to go, they're cleaned, we now put them in jars. And so we always obviously reuse jars every year because they're glass, they last, that's the point, it's recycling, reusing. Time and time again, but you do always want to check to make sure they're not nicked around the rim. That could prohibit a good seal. And so that's one thing you always check. But then what we do is make sure we kind of lay these in nicely. So these are a lot of work, right? Yeah, you're at this point, either if you're still watching, you're invested, so I get it. If not, you're thinking like, what is going on? These are a lot of work, so you want to kind of make it look nice and make sure this was like kind of a beauty. There's an art to this. So what you can see from the one Mom's doing here, I kind of just start laying, like there's lots of dead space around them because they're a pepper and they're whole, that you can't fill in every nook and cranny. So there's gonna be room around them, but we kind of just nicely lay them all around. It kind of puts them up against the side. It shows them off a little bit, even if just for us and for our canned goods that look at each other. And then we get done. So now what we're gonna do is keep filling these jars. We never know really how many we get because the different sizes depend on how many you can fit in a jar. But then we have mini jars ready. And once we fill them, we'll just pour the brine on and we'll pickle them. Guys, this is Mom and I are having fun. You having fun, Mom?
We're having a great time.
We're having so much fun. But no, it really is. I think this is the point of canning, to do it with someone you love, to enjoy it, to talk. It's just good. So now what we're doing is we're putting that brine that was boiling and then we kind of just reduced it and kept it hot. We're pouring it over the top of all of these, using a funnel to make sure to try to stay as clean as possible. And then once I get the brine on, and you want to cover your peppers, but more importantly, you want to leave a 1/2-inch headspace. So Mom's going to go through and check those as I keep pouring on. And what she's also going to do is take a clean cloth and she's going to dip it in hot water, which we have here. And she's going to just wipe off the rim. So just dip and then wipe off the rim. And then you'll put on a lid and a ring like we do. So we'll go through and do all these. Then we'll put on all the lids and rings. She's finishing my job for me here. See, this is why it's good to do it with someone you're comfortable with, or you just get to know them really well. Either way, you could just find someone you don't know and do canning together, I guess. And do you see how pretty they look and vibrant they look once you put the brine on? I think this is you finally get to see the fruits of your labor, literally, when you get to this point. So now we're putting lids and rings on. Now, lids, follow the manufacturer instructions on the box. They don't really say to anymore put them in hot water. That's kind of an old thing. We still do that. Why do
For a little bit, just, I don't know.
I don't know, we still do. You know what?
Because we did it for
Old
years.
habits die hard, so we still do it. Then we put on the rings, tighten to fingertip tightness is what everyone says.
Well,
and that really
just
is
till it snugs up.
just till it snugs up, which means you could go slightly more, but it would be a lot of strenuous effort, which you don't want to do, because then that would buckle a lid or be too much.
Okay.
So now what we can do is I pick this whole thing up and just take it with me. I think that works well, and I set it right here beside me. So we have a boiling water bath canner going. Now you can use one, whatever works for you, but we use a jar lifter, and we put them in one by one. It has a rack in the bottom of a heavy bottom kettle, because you want them to be lifted off the bottom. And now Mom is putting them all in, and we're gonna make sure they're covered by water, at least by an inch.
Turn it up again to keep it boiling.
And then we just boil them. This is now, so you can see that canning, yes, sometimes it could take time. This especially can take time, but it's a pretty easy process. So we're gonna let these come to a boil, time them, and then we're done. These just got done, and they're a quick water bath because there's such a high ratio of vinegar that they cook in water bath really quickly. And you can see that at first, it kind of can seem scary. I saved this water, by the way. I let it cool off and I water plants with it. But at first, you're gonna notice they lift up a little bit and they're floating from the bottom. Now, once they cool completely, they fall back down and they come back and touch the bottom. This is also why we use regular mouth jars. That shoulder on a regular mouth can hold them in a little bit better, where a wide mouth, they just always kind of maybe float up. But we now let them sit for 24 hours and don't do anything with them or move them until that about. But now that they're done, this is last year's, so I still always keep a couple. I ration them. Do you ration them?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We don't just like have them every night, but this is what they look like, and you keep them in the fridge once they're opened. But I want to make sure you saw what they were. So once they're cooked, they are still a vibrant red, but maybe a little bit more muted, but you can see there's kind of what becomes a pickled cabbage. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah.
Almost
Like a sauerkraut, but I know people often say, oh, you stuff them with sauerkraut. No, we
No.
stuff them with raw cabbage,
Right.
and then we pickle them.
And we pickle them. And then when you get them out, I know, they're so good. They're crunchy and crisp. They crisp even more once you put them in the fridge. And they have they're like a pickle with a slight sweetness. Like it's not just full sour, it has just a little bit of balance, but not sweet. And they're just delicious. Like you get a pepperiness, but it's like a sweet bell pepper that's pickled.
Yeah, it's
Who
just a
would've thought?
novelty. I mean,
It is.
this isn't something you can go buy in the store, I don't think.
No, I don't know how you would do this on a large scale for stores, but this is what they are. You guys have been asking for this, and this is our stuffed pickled peppers. I don't expect everyone to make them, but I think the important takeaway here is canning is a process. It's not scary. It's not necessarily hard. It could take time.
This one is
This takes more time than others.
It's hard, very time consuming.
Yeah. But the idea is you're maybe carrying on family traditions, carrying on family stories, working with loved ones and doing it together. And that's more the point.
Right.
You know,
Whoop!
there it is.
Music to a canner's ear.
That is the best sound you can hear. After that work, you want to make sure they seal. They usually seal within the 10 to 20 minutes once you take them out, but it could take up to an hour.
Well, and I've had them take up to, almost overnight.
Oh, really?
Very rarely.
Ooh, I'd stay up all night just waiting. So what do I hope you do with this? I hope you maybe are excited to can, maybe want to get together with someone and can with someone, maybe want to bring back a family tradition that you haven't tried, but of course, sharing this video around helps me, but guess what? It helps others see what we do, and maybe they'll be inspired to do something like that too. You can check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe. So many more family recipes and other recipes are on there, including other recipes with my mom, like your butter horns, or there's another one with you too, I know for sure, but they're on the website, guys, so check it out. And until next time, enjoy something special and do something with family. That's the point. Thanks for doing this together.
Yep.
Love you.
Second one's gone.
Is it? Oh, good.